I just, the way I always visioned it was just like Jerry, because he has such this idealized version of the family, part of that idealized version is the absence of sexuality. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's kind of like the Donna Reed show.
Yeah. It's like if you grew up in the 50s and all you saw was Leave It to Beaver, Donna Reed, all those things, they never once had sex ever, or even hinted at any sort of relations. You know, that's why they all slept in separate beds. So I think like when we get this scene where Jerry's having sex and you're just like, why is he just sitting there? You know? And I think it's because that doesn't fit into his paradigm.
Oh, goody, goody, here it comes.
Welcome to the Cinema Psycho Show.
You are interested in the unknown, the mysterious, the unexplainable. That is why you are here.
Oh, my God, don't stop now!
With your hosts, Brian, John, and Elaine.
Welcome to the Cinema Psycho Show, the madhouse for film freaks and film fans of all types. I'm your host, Brian Cottington, my fellow co-host and filmmaker, John Woolscroft.
Because I got a small waist, pretty face, with a big bang. Look how you hating on a bitch, but you my mama age.
What? Huh? What? What?
That's for all them TikTok fans out there, all them TikTok.
Oh, all them TikTokies?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, you getting into that now?
Well,
Is that what you're doing?
I got to make sure we're fresh, Brian.
We're fresh?
Yeah.
Fresh. Is that with a PH?
No, we're fat, PHAT.
Oh, man, that's 1998. That's a 1998 callback there.
Raise that roof.
No, please don't.
Bret
Don't
Hart.
raise anything. Yeah. I was going to try to do a cold open with, like, I want a family. All I want is my family. Family. Murder. We're on episode 215. And in honor of Father's Day, we figured why not talk about, I would say probably one of the only horror movies that has to deal with a daddy, and that is The Stepfather.
Hi, Daddy.
Yeah. And we're not talking about that one from 2000. I think it was like 5 or 9. I don't know. That one with Dylan Walsh from Nip Tuck. We're not talking about that one. And we're not talking about that 1992, one with not Terry O'Quinn.
Yeah. I did not I had to, I rewatched this in preparation for the show, but my God, every streaming service wanted me to watch the 2009 one.
Well, you know what's funny? So I before the show, I always typically whenever we cover a movie, which is like every episode, right? So I always bring up IMDb, and I always go in and I kind of bring up just facts about the movie so that I have something to talk about. But also just because as a stepdaddy and a daddy, I have a lot of shit going on in my life, so I like to have like notes and stuff up, right? This time is the only time that I typed in The Stepfather and it would not give me the top pick for the 1987 original. It was only defaulting me to that shit awful remake.
Yeah.
So I've never seen that before. Never have seen that before. That was the first time that I've ever seen IMDb be like, no. You don't want that good one. You want the shit one. And you're only going to get the shit one.
Sexy amount of money on on
guess.
All the Google searches going right to the new one. Yeah.
I guess Dylan Walsh was just like, you know what? I don't have anything else going on in my life right now, so I guess I'll just dump a bunch of money into a god-awful remake. I mean, it's not his fault. It's not a good movie. It's just not. But yeah, we talk about the original, and this one actually was pretty fun because I think this one it gets buried because of the fact that it's not I think it's not as slashery as some other slashers of this era. So it's an oddball.
Oh yeah, this came out towards the tail end of the slasher craze, but this is not a slasher movie.
No. I'd say this is, I saw reviews online, particularly there's an amazing breakdown of the entire franchise by a YouTuber named In Praise of Shadows. I'm going to link to them in the show notes here. But they do an amazing, 30-minute long breakdown of the entire franchise. And the biggest thing that you get from that is that they quite literally said, this is more or less a family drama than a quote-unquote slasher. And it's absolutely true. It's absolutely true. This reads more or less as a drama than it does a die-in-the-wool slasher. Of course, there's bloody times in this. But in terms of kill count, this came out in 1987. You know what else came out in 1987? Hellraiser. So that's the horror scape here. That's the difference here is you've got Hellraiser, which has people's faces being ripped apart by chains, and skinless people, and you've got the Stepfather. So it's very interesting that it came out at that time. It's not traditional to that time. I mean, also 87. That's right as Freddy's getting into his goofy ass stage. So you've got
Great graphics.
Yeah. No, not we're not there yet.
That's 90s. That's 90s.
That's 90s. That's 90, 91. Okay, man. No, this is him and his I'm gonna wear sunglasses at the beach phase.
Soul food.
Soul food for my boy. Yeah. So it's a very oddball film. So I like to start off these every episode kind of when we're talking about movies that are nostalgic to us. John, was this the first time you saw Stepfather, or had you seen it before?
No, I saw it. It's been probably 15 years since the last time I saw it. Yeah. So I wouldn't say it was like seeing it anew, but it was one of those I remember enjoying this, but my God, it's all flashes in my mind.
Right.
The last time I saw it, kind of thing.
Yeah. So for me, it's a little bit more recent because I actually watched this one and Stepfather 2 and 3. I think the third. Yeah, I think these were on Amazon. They were on Amazon Prime for a while before this one at least got kind of ported over to Shudder. And thank God I got Shudder now, right? So yeah, I was like, oh man, it's on Shudder. I get to watch on Shudder. Great.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are not paid for by Shudder.
No, I'm not. Shudder, but they can.
If you want to pay us, yeah.
If you want to, we are more than for sale.
Oh,
okay.
We'll sell out like bitches. I'll hawk it every 2 minutes.
I will praise Psycho Gorman to the nth degree. All of your originals, we'll do it all, man. We are down for Shudder. You want
Canadian
to spring
trouser horror?
Yeah. What was that?
Canadian trouser horror.
Oh man, that's a whole other tangent there. Yeah. Apparently, there's a movie on Shudder called Slacks. That's a Canadian horror movie about killer pants. I watched it after watching Stepfather last night, and honestly, it's worth the watch. It is fucking hilarious. But
I'm letting you, dear audience, in onto our private conversations.
yeah, I'm letting you in on our private conversations. So getting back to my point. So I actually watched this during the pandemic, at the early stages when we were all like, what the fuck we do now? And I literally I binged this one, and I think I went all the way to the third one. And, that was kind of the first time recently, watch this. But prior to you, kind of like you, John, I hadn't seen this movie in a long time. Now, just like with everything, if you're a long time listener of the show, you know that HBO pretty much was, the nexus point of introducing me to a lot of movies growing up.
Yeah,
so I actually watched the third one first. The third Stepfather first. There's 3 movies in this franchise here, not counting that god-awful remake. So I watched the third one. Have you ever seen the third one, John?
I have not, but you got to love checking these movies out in non-chronological order. I saw the first and second one, but yeah.
Yeah. So here's the deal. You got to check out the third one because it's horrible. It's really, really bad. So apparently Terry O'Quinn, from what I understand, didn't want to come back. And I'm getting all this, honestly, from In Praise of Shadows. Like, I'm going to link them on YouTube. So apparently Terry O'Quinn didn't want to come back because the second one got butchered by Harvey Weinstein. Big shocker there. And so because he didn't want to come back and do another one, they had to get someone else. So in the third Stepfather, you have this whole opening where it's all fucking blue, and Terry O'Quinn's character, Jerry Blake, apparently goes in and gets plastic surgery and turns into a whole other actor. That's how we start off the movie.
Yeah, I just clicked on it. Yeah, that's how they describe it. Yeah, using plastic surgery to disguise himself from authorities.
Yes, and it's funny because the actor who, I don't know what the name of that actor is who plays Jerry Blake in it, but oh my God, he is
Robert
so
Whiteman?
hamming it up.
Yeah.
What was that?
Robert Whiteman.
Yeah. And honestly, that name, White Man, yeah, it is 100%
White man. White man.
But
Yeah.
yeah, it's crazy.
Do you know the tagline of the movie?
Was it?
This might be the worst tagline I've ever heard in my life. Daddy's been working in the garden again.
Well, it makes sense because in the movie he kills someone and plants flowers on their body. Like, any nuance that the Stepfather franchise had, it is thrown out the fucking window in the third one. He kills a priest. He tries to kill his stepson who's handicapped. The handicapped kid walks and kills him. I mean, it gets thrown into a wood chipper. I've ruined the whole movie for you all. I'm sorry, but it's a goofy, fun ride. It is a fun ride. Not gonna lie. There's even a moment where, because the kid's in the wheelchair, he apparently has an interest in technology with his priest friend. Not going to talk too much about that. I find it a little weird, but hey, whatever. But he has like an early version of the internet in his room, and that's how he finds out that Jerry Blake is actually, a killer. So it's funny. It's a funny third film.
The mystique is gone, ladies and gentlemen. It's like watching David Beckham have wet diarrhea while crying.
Yes.
Not so hot now, is he?
No, he's not. But anyway, getting back to the first one, which is good, is a really good movie. It honestly, well, how do we want to take this, John? Do you want to like get into some of the plot first, or do we want to just like talk about some of the salient themes of the film?
Well, one thing I noticed with this movie is, like, I always check runtimes on things, and I was like, oh, this movie's like 80 some minutes. Like, it's
89.
It's like,
80
yeah,
minutes.
it's like get in and get out, in terms of, and it's interesting for an audience who is used to like the Friday the 13th franchise and like at least 7 to 12 deaths. Like, they realized, oh, we're appealing to that audience, but we only have like one death on screen, so we better make sure we make this as quick as humanly possible.
It doesn't feel fast though. Like, that's the thing, is this movie, it takes its time at points, and it definitely moves the plot along at a very decent pace. But I didn't feel like I was rushed at all watching this. Because there are some movies out there that you can clearly tell that they have cut a shit ton of stuff out of it. And this doesn't feel like that at all.
Yeah, like some movies like where everybody's happy, and then the next scene, like somebody's wearing an eye patch. It's like, wait, well, what the hell did they just cut out of here?
How did that happen there? How do you lose an eyeball? I think that's important information. Yeah, but this doesn't feel like it's been chopped apart. And I think that honestly is kind of a tribute to the fact that, as I mentioned, this is not a traditional slasher. This is actually written by a mystery novelist. This isn't written by a horror film screenwriter. This is written by someone who has more of a mind for mystery, and you can tell that. It's written by Donald Westlake, who's gone by many different pen names as a mystery novelist, and it feels like that. It feels like we're unraveling pieces throughout the entire film.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do feel that like a lot of this movie lies on the shoulders of Terry O'Quinn, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. It was funny, like when Lauren and I were watching this, Lauren's like, yep, that guy's in Lost. I said, I know.
It's that's easy. Like, hey, it's the Lost guy. That guy from
yeah,
Lost,
but I'm just like, before the Lost guy, he was the stepfather.
It's kind of like Robert Ray Schaefer, who's like, oh, that's Bob Vance on The Office. Like, no, that's Psycho Cop.
That's Psycho Cop. yeah, but it's interesting to see him because you get that intensity in his face that he has in the show Lost. At least that's what I've heard. Here's the thing. I'm criticized for this by my wife all the time. I've never seen all of Lost. I've seen like a couple episodes here and there. I know that's a criminal thing. I know that's something that people are just like, how dare you?
Dude, I've never seen it all the way through either.
Okay,
yeah.
I'm glad it's not just me because I try to get into it. It's the same thing with like Walking Dead. I watched a couple episodes. Like, okay, this is all right, and then I just kind of was like, I have better things to do. So it's if you can't hold my interest, and that also goes for Game of Thrones. You know, I watch a couple episodes and I'm just like, this is fucking boring. I'm done. So if you can't hold my interest in the first couple episodes, I'm not holding to it. You know, that's why I love the show Dexter. Okay. Even that last season was terrible. I was held into it. I was locked in off that first episode. So it's one of those things where I don't really do the slow burn series as much. But anyway, a lot of people know Terry O'Quinn from Lost. You might be remiss to not know that he did this series, at least the first two of this franchise. And he really does sell this idea of the man who just wants a fucking family. He just wants family and love. And if they are human at all, he murders them.
And stay out of my goddamn basement. I need to work on my birdhouse.
That man really loves woodworking, I gotta say. That man, wow, that's a hobby right there.
You know, there are two people who like woodworking, you know, just like craftsmen and psychotics. You know?
I guess that's true. I mean, here's the thing I thought about as watching. I'm like, wait a minute. He had to give up all of his entire tool set. Like he has expensive stuff down there. You got to figure he's got like bandsaws and all sorts of shit down there. And he has that in two different houses. So that means he had to go back out and like buy everything else. How many times has he bought the same circular saw?
Yeah, I kind of wonder that because like the premise of this movie is, in case you don't know, like he gets involved with these families and then he ends up murdering them and moving
because
on
they
with his
disobey him in some regard.
Yeah. He just moving on.
And
Cut my beard, taking a shower, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, and that disobeying can be as simple as, well, I'm a 16-year-old girl kissing a boy. So it's like, that's enough to murder everybody. God damn it. And I want to get to that scene because that scene is like, there's not a whole lot of movies, not a whole lot of scenes in this where I'm just like, that is fucking ridiculous. But in this, that scene alone is just crazy pants. That scene. But yeah, I mean, all the man wants is a family. We open up with, I would argue, is one of the best openers in a horror film, period. And that is because of the fact that it's so inane. Like we know that Terry O'Quinn has, at least if you look close, you can see that he has blood splatter on him. We don't know anything else. I mean, you could think that it is paint at that point. Okay. We open up with him in the bathroom. He's kind of looking kind of crazy, which I'm just like, of course he's a killer. Look at his face. And he's cutting off his beard. He's taking a shower. He's putting on new clothes. He's looking real spiffy in a sweater vest and coat. I'm just like, that's very warm. But okay. And he walks through his house. He picks up a toy, puts it in his kid's room, and he walks through his house and you see all of the carnage. And it's brilliant. Don't you think?
Oh yeah, I love him like being upset that, like the toys out of place and putting it back in like the toy chest, even though he's brutally butchered the entire family.
It's like you've killed little kids, you've killed your wife, and you're pissed off about a little sailboat that's just in the hallway. Okay, but that, you know why I love
in a house you'll never return to.
It just shows that this man is so fucking insane.
Yeah.
And he has this outer shell of, I would call, 1980s Reagan conservatism. Okay. And you know, we mentioned that this movie is kind of an oddball, and that's because like in the late 80s, horror really had moved away from this idea of the terror being down the street from you. It really moved away from that. You know?
Yeah, it was the dying ages of the slasher genre.
Like this one seems like it belongs more in the late 70s, early 80s rather than the late ones. Like this would have fit in great with all of the quote unquote traditional slashers after, say, Halloween. Because that was all about, hey, the monster's next door. And in this one, the monster's in suburbia, and it could be the guy who's selling you real estate. So, I mean, like, that's what I think is great about this. Is it doesn't fit with the horror movies at the time, you know? But yeah, so anyway, Jerry at this time, also known as Henry Morrison, apparently he decides to get on a boat because he lives in Washington, and he tosses away all of his bloody clothes, and we pick up a year later. He's remarried. He has a teenage stepdaughter, and everything seems to be going Jerry's way.
Yeah, this guy, goddamn, he moves fast. Like, relationships aren't easy, folks. This guy, but like,
yeah,
he not only convinces a woman to love him, like who's experienced trauma in their lives, like not just like the current one in this film, but apparently I think every woman, but then also to marry him and then to second guess her children. Like, how dare you? Jerry loves us. This is like, oh my God, this guy must have like a 20-inch dick, you know?
I was going to say, I mean, don't get me wrong. Terry O'Quinn is okay looking, but I mean, you know, this is the age of, Sylvester Stallone and Arnold Schwarzenegger. But,
hey, when you've been through the ringer and you're in your 40s, you'll take anything. Yeah, you're taking what you can get. Yeah.
It's like, well, this guy has all of his shit together. He sells real estate. Yeah, he wears a wig, which I got to say, how did no one know for a year that Jerry wore a wig?
It's kind of obvious, actually.
Like, it's obvious. I the whole time watching, I'm like, oh yeah, he's wearing a piece. He's wearing a piece, and then when he takes it off, you're like, yeah, I knew it. But no one else did. Like, that's what I don't understand is that the moment when he goes and changes into his next personality, that they're like, oh yeah, I took my hairpiece off and put a mustache on. I must be different looking. So anyway, he has this perfect family, and we get an idea that the stepdaughter Stephanie, of course her name is Stephanie. It's 1987.
She's a troublemaker. Yeah.
Well, yeah, but I'm just saying, like, that name, that was an 80s name right there. If your name is Stephanie, typically you were born between 1984 and 1990, I would say. That's when Stephanie was a popular name. But anyway, there's some strife between Stephanie and Jerry, because Stephanie, like any normal human being, would be like, this is kind of weird that this guy, one, he's kind of like Mr. Beaver Cleaver, basically, or Ward Cleaver. And she even mentions that in the movie, in that all he wants is a perfect family, and that he came in so quick. So, like, where everyone else is like, a year is kind of a short time. I mean, you got to figure what he probably met her. Maybe, the only thing you can think of is like maybe he met her during that time when he tries to set up his new identity. Like, that's the only thing I can think of, is that he had a little bit of a head start.
Yeah, I don't know what this guy's like process is, like how long he takes before he like.
He's got a hell of a process. I got to tell you.
Yeah,
he has one hell of a process, and he's smart. He is fucking smart. But yeah, so she kind of smells that he's a crazy person, or at least just doesn't like the fact that she has a stepdaddy, which I gotta understand that. As a stepdaddy myself, I've experienced some issues like that. Not like this, but definitely.
You spend a lot of time in the basement building birdhouses.
No, I'm not going to the basement going like, why doesn't anyone listen to me? That sort of shit. But I mean, there is a reality to this, and that's why I think I love this movie and love the horror in that. Is that it's based on real, issues. So like when someone new does come to a family, it does kind of introduce stuff. I mean, my stepkids and I, there are moments where there is strife, and I've only been called "you're not my dad" once, and that was like I was expecting that to happen. So the fact it's only happened once, I'm like, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's pretty good. It's only happened one time. But the point is, it's like that is a real thing that happens. That is a real thing. There definitely always is, for the most part, a little bit of strife between step kids and step parents. So I completely get that. And it just makes it more realistic. One of the things I love about Jerry Blake is that he's not a traditional serial killer in the sense, he's not like Hannibal Lecter. He's not like Jason or Freddy or anything like that, where he's always in crazy mode. He has like this, you actually at the point, you do sympathize with him a little bit. At least I do a little bit.
As long as you abide by like his rules and everything that he wants. What I mean is, but then he could snap in a second.
Well, what I mean is in his own twisted way. Okay, all the man wants is love and a family, and I think most people understand that. So like that's what I mean when you can kind of sympathize with him a little bit. There's literally a scene in this where he's watching a family and you're just seeing his face, and you can tell that like there is a little bit of humanity in there, even if it is kind of corrupted and amplified by what I would consider mental illness. Okay. So that's what I say when I say you sometimes even sympathize a little bit with him. And that's what makes this movie so good, is that it's not just crazy person on 24/7, there are moments when you're getting that little bit of humanity there it's amplified, like with everything. But it's also restrained a bit in those moments when you're just with Jerry. So I love that. But, getting back onto the plot here, Stephanie apparently has a little bit of, I would say, issues because of her dad dying, having Jerry marry her mom. So she goes to see a therapist, and the
Steph has got some angst. She's got some angst.
She's got some so big angst. She's fighting people in school, especially art class, which I'm like, this scene's ridiculous. Like that scene where she's fighting the girl with paint everywhere. I was like, really?
Well, and I hate to like give into to mindless stereotypes, but like she looks like the girl next door. Shouldn't she have like lots of eyeliner and lip liner or something to like go by the stereotypical like I'm a troubled girl?
Well, not necessarily, because that is stereotyping.
But I mean, this is also a horror movie in the 80s. That's what I mean. Like,
correct. But I think what they're trying to do is more or less be realistic with this. Okay. Even though obviously this is a crazy film. Okay. It's about a stepfather who kills people. They're not trying to go so over the top that it's not believable. I think that the idea that Jerry could be the real estate agent. We always hear about serial killers, and when we look in their backstory, you find out that they were, like in the case of John Wayne Gacy, like members of the community, and like literally were employing people and also murdering them. But just they had this visage of normalcy. And I think if you had Stephanie kind of be the quote unquote stereotypical bad girl, that would really kind of just stick out in what is supposed to basically be a movie that showcases what I would imagine is a real, grounded in reality summary of a serial killer.
Yeah. And I don't blame her because, like, no. Jerry's coming in being like, my family, my daughter. It's like, dude, you've been here for 6 months.
6 months.
Yeah.
6 months max. And I mean, you got to figure, like, how long was he dating Stephanie's mom before he popped the question? So in this timeline, maybe 2 days. Hi, my name's Jerry. 2 days later, after they have sex for the first time, we want to get married.
Dude, he whipped that slug out and she went, holy shit.
Well, I don't even get what's so great about Jerry. He literally just sits there.
I'm telling you, he's got a big hog and he's got that merkin to match the wig on his head,
Well, that's one funny scene. I do want to kind of move along to that part. So there is a scene where where he has sex with the mom, and this is something that has come up in, I think, every Stepfather movie. When Jerry has sex, he like zones out and just sits there because I think in his head, sex is naughty, so he shouldn't be doing that. That's not the part of the family man. So he just zones out. It's like, yes, I'm supposed to do this. So he just sits there.
Yeah. To fit in, to appear normal.
Fit in.
Yeah.
With his 13-inch dick.
Join my 14-inch hog, baby.
Hi, my name's Jerry. This is my third leg.
Yeah. You can't even sit on it because I get to your back wall of your pussy. Yeah. But, well, a lot of sociopaths actually don't, have sex normally because,
really?
like, whatever their murdering fetish is, that tends to sometimes be their sexual release. So they don't even understand what sex is. Yeah.
That makes sense. I just, the way I always visioned it was just like Jerry, because he has such this idealized version of the family, part of that idealized version is the absence of sexuality. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's kind of like the Donna Reed show.
Yeah. It's like if you grew up in the 50s and all you saw was Leave It to Beaver, Donna Reed, all those things, they never once had sex ever, or even hinted at any sort of relations. That's why they all slept in separate beds. So I think, like, when we get this scene where Jerry's having sex and you're just like, why is he just sitting there? And I think it's because that doesn't fit into his paradigm. Yeah.
Although I would have loved an episode of Donna Reed with some slap ass porn in it.
You're in rare form today, buddy. I gotta say, we're talking about 14-inch hogs, banging Donna Reed. I mean, come on, man.
By the way, like him, like spacing off like that, like it's amazing how quickly a boner can disappear. Have you ever been like yanking one out and you get a phone call and your dick immediately goes to sleep? Like
I think that's a middle-age problem there. Welcome to your 40s, buddy. You got to really concentrate on that thing.
Welcome to prime time, bitch.
Well, I mean, nowadays, if you got a couple pills in you, you can space out. And the thing just works itself.
Today's Cinema Psycho Show brought to you by Blue Chew.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. I think it's the second episode brought to you by Blue Chew. Yeah. So while all this is going on, obviously tensions are kind of high. We see that Jerry is a real estate agent. That's how he's kind of making a living. And he's a really good real estate agent. He sells the family American dream. That's what he sells. And there's this really creepy scene in which he's pushing this little girl, okay, that, is accompanying this couple that's looking at a house. And he's just telling the little girl about his daughter and where she goes to high school. And then he mistakes and says the other kid that he killed, like the previous family.
Yeah.
And I'm just thinking to myself, like, what person in their right mind would let a stranger push their kid? Ever.
It was the 80s. Like, white people trusted other white people. Like, no matter what.
No. I would never let anyone, I don't care who they are, push my kid. Ever. Okay?
Remember in The Shining when there was like, hey, go with Jack. Like, I'll just
go with
give
Halloran?
your kid ice cream. Yeah. It's like,
I mean, I guess so, but I guess, I don't know. I watching that scene, I'm just like, first of all, those parents are terrible. Okay. They're just literally looking at the house and Jerry's just pushing their kid. You don't know Jerry. You don't know him. You just know that you got it. Maybe you saw his billboard somewhere in town and you're looking for a house. You don't know him. So like, I just letting a stranger, even if maybe you've had him show you 2 or 3 houses already, I would never let anyone push my kid on a swing. But it's unnerving. And I guess you can kind of look at it as like, this guy is able to weave into that safety that we have with the family and with suburbia so well, that, yeah, he could push your kid on a swing. That's how unnerving it was, at least for me. And also as well as, calling out those parents and saying you need child welfare calling you because you just walk around anywhere, just let your kid be handled by a stranger. But yeah. So after all this happens, basically we get this whole like side story. Okay. A little bit of a side story here where, I guess the brother of the wife that Jerry previously killed. So that first family that we saw.
Yeah, the first 5-minute butchered family.
Yes,
yeah,
the first 5-minute butchered family. That brother is on a mission. And if I had to pick one point that I dislike about Stepfather, it is this character. Because this character is like at an 11 in every fucking scene.
He walks in. Oh, God damn it! Every scene.
Well, first of all, he looks like a crazy person. Okay, he looks like he hasn't slept. He looks like he's on like 2 bumps of cocaine an hour. Okay, he just looks insane. The man looks crazy pants. Okay,
he looks like the basis of like a B- hairband in the 80s.
Yeah,
like the basis of Rat.
The basis of Rat. But he looks like a crazy person, and he's got this reporter with him, and they're driving up like, yeah, that guy he killed my family. I need you to go put out a newspaper article about him. And the journalist is like, one, I'm just a journalist. I have to like put things by editors. I don't care about the editor. Like, okay, dude.
Like, have you ever heard of libel, buddy?
Like, I can't just put shit out there. Like, he literally attacks this journalist because he puts the newspaper article reminiscing about this murdered family and how they never caught the killer, and the guy attacks him in broad daylight and says, "You didn't put the picture up. Why didn't you put the picture? You didn't put the picture up." It's like, dude, chill out. I know it's horrible. I know you're still trying to look for this guy, but you're crazy.
Yeah. You've not giving me any money. And there's also a thing called journalism efficacy. I can't just abide by your rules of madness.
And then there's another scene. Well, first of all, he's driving a car that's like half fallen apart. And it's like a nice sports car, but it's a shitty paint job. There's no paint job on it. It's just garbage looking. Okay. And the next thing we have with him, he's talking to like the police detective on it. And the police detective's like, you know what you should do? You should buy a gun. So 1 second later, he's at a shooting range. Like, this guy looks insane and you're telling him go buy a gun?
Yeah. Although I'm not surprised this guy has like an old sports car. It's like, it'd be like, he'd be like, oh, I got a Corvette. Yeah, from 1991. It'd be like,
oh yeah, those people.
It's only got 215,000 miles on it. It's like, oh my God. Yeah.
No, he's just like, it's a classic. It's from 1991. It's a classic.
Yeah.
1991 is not classic. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It's not. It's way beyond classic at that point. It's just shit car. But either way, with this whole time, basically the brother is trying to find Jerry to kill him. And we get, I'd say, what the best scene is that shows this insanity is when he's reminiscing through the murder house, and he comes across Jerry's, or what we should call Henry's, like workshop thing. Again, this is kind of the whole reason why, like, did Jerry just like completely get rid of all of his tools, buy them again and again and again? So he's looking at a magazine. He sees that these bunch of these papers have been torn out, like these pages have been torn out, and he decides he's going to just burst right into the library and go nuts. He's like smacking into, comic book turnstiles. He's just grabbing all the periodicals, just ramming them down. Like, what the fuck is it? He's trying to find it. I'm like, dude. Oh, God damn it. Yeah, that is the God damn it moment in this for him. He's just like, what the fuck? I gotta find the magazine. It's like, dude, someone's gonna call the police and you're gonna get arrested.
Grab the card catalog, you weirdo. Yeah.
How does he even know? That's my thing. How does he even know that periodical's there? He doesn't know. He doesn't have the internet. You first have to go to the periodicals back then. That was what you had to do. Or talk to a librarian.
Yeah, the internet was only used by, if it was a thing at all, like by 10 people in 1987,
it was used by 10 people, and they were just like, wow, I can send a message to you across the room.
Yeah, all websites were just type,
It was type. Yeah. There were no boobs on it at all yet.
No boobs. That's why nobody learned it,
Yeah, that's as soon as boobs got put in it, it's like, okay, well, now we need to get this out to the public.
I remember when I was 13, a friend coming over to my house for a sleepover, and he had on a floppy disk pictures of Gillian Anderson's boobs. That's how old I am. It's like, oh, we got to put this floppy disk in and wait for the image to come up.
Yeah.
This is Gillian Anderson's boobies.
Yeah. No, I think I was around the same age. And it's just like, whoa. It takes 5 minutes, but still, whoa. But yeah, it was one of those things where like you had to if you were in the computer room of the house, you're just like, okay, lock the door.
Yeah.
Lock the door. We gotta wait 5 minutes for this thing to load.
I think everyone's asleep.
You're just going down there at 2:00 in the morning, be like, everyone's asleep now. It's private time.
If you manage to download a video, it's like fucking listening to Bane have sex. It's like, this is my only option.
Either that or you, and typically when that happened, you were like, wait a minute, that doesn't seem realistic. That doesn't seem realistic. Or, you had Cinemax or an HBO, and you're just like, I could see real stuff there.
Yeah.
The penis is obviously on the belly button. Everybody knows that.
That's how it works.
That's how it works. Anyway, instead of reminiscing about old porn baiting scenarios, this brother-in-law, he just kind of blows in, finds this magazine, and realizes that Jerry had looked in this magazine about perfect places to raise a family. And sure enough, that gives him an idea of where Jerry is at. So that's kind of what kicks him off on finding Jerry. Okay. While all this is going on, you got to keep in mind, Jerry hasn't killed anyone in a while. He hasn't killed anyone in about a year. Okay. So that's where we kind of say that the blood count in this movie is very, very low. But while all this stuff is going on, Stephanie's therapist gets the idea of meeting with Jerry, which is a good idea. But I got to say, he does it in the most unprofessional way possible.
Yeah, only in a movie would this happen. This
I'm would going not to, happen.
Meet with him in secret and antagonize him the entire time.
Yeah. So this therapist gets the idea because Jerry kind of ducks him on a phone call, which I'm just like, okay, if the guy doesn't want to talk, the guy doesn't want to talk. If that's what your thing is, he doesn't want to talk. So he gets the bright idea to pose as a person looking for a house and calls Jerry up, and Jerry shows him to a house. So again, you're getting from Stephanie that this guy's creepy and weird and is not normal. Okay, so you're a therapist going in with that. So you decide you're going to meet with this guy alone in a house where no one else is around. Not the smartest thing. Okay?
Yeah.
Even if you don't know the man's if you don't know the man's a serial killer, even if he isn't a serial killer, trying to pretend to be someone else, but someone you've been told is kind of weird, not the smartest thing to do. So sure enough, he antagonizes him. The therapist, of course, doesn't get his story straight. He says he isn't married, doesn't have a family. And then, of course, he drops something about his wife, and then it just kind of goes from there. Jerry beats him with a 2x4. Beats him down, as you do.
There you
and
go,
then
Hacksaw Jim Duggan.
Yeah, and then wraps him up in paper. And then, of course, puts him in a car and lights the car on fire. So, I mean, like, it's a typical murdery fare. But it also shows that he's smart. Okay? So that's
also,
our...
He showed this guy this house, and then he died shortly thereafter. I know he made it look like an accident, but, like, the police would investigate the house. They'd probably find a droplet of butt.
I gotta say,
blood.
The police in this movie are the most incompetent of any police.
Yeah,
in any horror movie ever.
Because they're also like, hey, what about that murder of that family? And the dad's missing. Like, fuck it.
Yeah,
what are you gonna do?
No. I just gotta say, usually in every one of these horror movies, there's always some detective who doesn't give up the case, right? There's always some detective that's like, yeah, you know what? I'm hard-nosed. I'm not going to give up this fight, even if it's a year later. Okay? We don't have that in this. You've got the most incompetent police ever. You've got one literally saying, oh, yeah, by the way, we don't have anything to go on, so go buy a gun and kill him yourself.
You know why? They couldn't cast Tom Atkins.
That's true. You're right.
Cop.
Tom Atkins, if he was in this, Jerry would be dead in like 15 minutes in the runtime. And he'd do it with a smile. And then he'd have sex with the wife.
Yeah. Well, hey, I
with
saw
beer
something
in his
online.
hand.
Yeah. I saw something online that said that Tom Atkins only acts in horror movies because his dick is too big for porno.
That's awesome. I mean, you interviewed him. You could have asked him that.
Oh, yeah. I couldn't get a sense if he was a tripod, but but he was a cool guy. Yeah,
yeah. So I gotta say that the police in this are terrible. No one investigates anything. You gotta figure that therapist probably told somebody, "Hey, I'm going to this place." Like he might have told the wife, might have told somebody. And the police would investigate something. Like, again, they are the most incompetent police force I've ever seen in this film. So it just, that part I find unrealistic,
It needs to happen for the movie to like.
I know.
Progress,
I get it. So while all this is going on, after the therapist dies, Stephanie's, of course, distraught. And we then get this little bit of kind of things getting better between them. They have Thanksgiving. Everyone's starting to feel great because the therapist is dead, and that Jerry says, "Oh, this has brought us all together." It's like, okay, creepy. Can I use someone's death as something bringing us together? Okay, dude. But of course, that has to cause issues, and of course, nothing causes issues more than someone making out in front of the house.
Oh
man. Shouldn't have done that.
Can't let her have her own sexuality.
No, because she's 16.
Yeah.
The movie doesn't care that she's 16 because we see her full frontal at towards the end of the movie. But
yeah, they figured the actress is probably 24, so like, whatever,
whatever.
Show them
but
titties.
It's the 80s. That's all they did. But yeah, so there's a little bit of a side plot here of Stephanie kind of liking a boy from her class, and they go on his Vespa at one point, and of course that like anyone would, they kiss in front of the house, and this leads to one of the most goofy ass over the top scenes in this movie. Okay, there's a lot in that movie, but honestly, this one I find the most ridiculous. So they're just kissing; they're not doing anything else. They're not doing anything remotely.
I don't even think there's any tongue going on.
There isn't any. There isn't any. It's only lips. And Jerry kind of gets out of the door and says, "What the fuck are you doing?"
Yeah. God damn it!
He's like, "God damn it!" And you just bust in there. You're trying to rape my daughter? Like, whoa, dude, you have a very, very wide definition of rape.
Maybe he's Mormon. I don't know. Yeah.
Well, I mean, we obviously know the man has issues when it comes to sex because he just sits there. But Jesus Christ, he like lays into everybody. So you're trying to rape my daughter? It's like, she's 16. And he's like, I'm 16 too, dude. It's like,
Yeah.
I mean, if they're both 16, it's not a big deal. And this just causes everything to kind of crumble for Jerry. This is kind of the first step in shit's going to hit the fan now.
Okay? Old Gerald's unraveling.
Yeah. So because this kind of destroys any goodwill that he might have had with Stephanie, it causes things to start having issues with the missus. So yeah, it gets pretty bad at that point. And this is kind of what leads to Jerry deciding that he has to prepare, because that's what he does. He prepares when shit is not going well. Okay. So he comes up with a brand new identity. He quits his job at the real estate agency, which
is common for him.
Common. Yes, he's used to doing that. But then he keeps going to this other job, setting up this new identity at the times when he should be at work. And that's again, he's smart. He's really, really smart. Because no one would think, what are you doing for 8 hours, right?
By the way, I don't mean to nitpick this movie, but like a real estate license, like you have to pass a test, and like that's one of the hardest tests to pass. I know my buddy Bob Ray, like he had to go through that, and like it was.
My mom did that for a while. She was a real estate agent for a little bit, and it took her 2 times to pass that test. She had to do it twice, and it's a tough test.
It's not like he just walked into Subway and been like, "Oh, you need a sandwich maker," You got to pass a goddamn long ass exam to be licensed to sell.
That's kind of why I say that I think that Jerry is just incredibly intelligent, but just disturbed. He's incredibly intelligent, so I can believe, for me at least, that he'd have no problem passing that. Plus, we also don't know what he did before as Henry Morrison. Okay, we don't know if he was a real estate agent at that time. He could have probably passed that test because he'd already done it. So that's the thing too, is we don't know. But it's worth nitpicking that, because it is, that is a hard test to pass. But anyway, he starts setting up this new identity. While this is all going on, we have Jim, I guess his name is Jim, basically, on his trail, checking all the widows and divorcees in town, trying to figure out where Jerry is. And sure enough, he comes across him, but Jerry's wife is like, well, he's not here. And ultimately that gets him kind of thrown off. He comes back, and he comes back in the middle of the murderings. Okay.
As you do.
As you do.
We've all been there.
Yeah. So I do want to get into the kind of the climax of this whole movie. All right.
Giggity.
while Jerry has been setting up this new identity, of course, it's not going to last forever. His wife finds out that he's no longer working at the real estate agency. Okay. And confronts Jerry. And this leads to Jerry having what I would call a break, a psychological break at that point. Because he actually says, and it's a famous scene where he says, "Who am I here?" Because he's had so many different personalities that he starts mixing them together. So he's like, "Oh, yeah, well, what does he say?" He's like, "Oh, I forget what he actually says that leads to it." But he mentioned something about his new personality. He says, "Oh, I'm just Bill Hodgkins." And you're just like, "Who's Bill Hodgkins?" He's like, "Oh, wait a minute. Who am I here?" And that's the minute that happens, you know what's coming next. Because he just says it out loud.
Yeah. I think that's why I actually saw this movie. I think I was watching, I don't know what channel it was, but like the 101 most terrifying moments in movies. And this is one of those scenes. And I was like, oh, that seems kind of cool. And I think that's why I saw this movie.
Yeah. So he after this moment, he kind of smashes his wife in the face with a phone and pushes her down the stairs in the basement. Then he gets a knife, and you think he's going to kill the dog. Like, 'cause I thought, no joke, that guy's going to kill the dog. Did you think that too?
Oh yeah, I mean, it fits for it. Yeah, like
it fits that he would kill everyone, including the family dog.
Yeah, you got to clear everybody out in the family, and dogs are family, and also it makes him like so hateable because he's going to murder a dog.
He's got to kill the family dog. He's got to kill the pet hamster. He's got to kill the gerbil.
Got to boil the bunnies.
Boil the bunnies. He's got to do all of it. All of the members of the family, including the animals, have to go.
It would have made sense because like he introduced a dog to the family, like, haha, I got you a dog. Now you have to love me. And she's like, whatever, asshole. Yeah.
Yeah. But he doesn't kill the dog. Good, because that would really make me hate Jerry. Aside from all the human murderings, I could forgive that. But you kill an animal, fuck you, man.
Yeah. Agreed.
But yeah, so he lets the dog go, and it's a really unnerving scene when he's just playing with the dog. He's got the knife, he's covered in blood, and he hears that Stephanie's home. So you get this, of course, quintessential 1980s zoom in with electronic music going in the background. He said something to like, what? He's like, "I'm coming. You've been a naughty girl." I love it. I'm just like, it's so cheesy.
Oh, it's sexy ass 80s cheese.
Oh my God. It really is. He's just like, "You've been a very naughty girl." I'm just like, oh God. It's like that. So, of course, Stephanie comes home, decides, hey, I got to strip down and just get in the shower. Because, of course,
I got to take a mid-afternoon shower, because
no one takes a mid-afternoon shower.
Yeah.
No one does that. It's morning and nighttime. That's honestly when you take a shower. No one just takes a mid-afternoon.
Unless you got like poop on you or something.
Well, if you were outside gardening or anything like that, like yesterday, yesterday I was outside putting lava rocks on my front like little planter thing, which I don't like doing outdoor stuff, but Lauren wants it, so I'm like, all right, fine. So took a shower after that because I was dirty, and that was in mid-afternoon. But my point is, like, normal people, morning, nighttime, that's the only times to take a shower. But because this is a 1980s horror movie, we have to see Stephanie, the 16-year-old, naked. Just
you got to see them 16-year-old beebs.
Really not. She's actually probably 20.
Yeah.
If I had to take a guess.
I guess the target audience of this movie probably is 16-year-old boys. So
I mean, at the time we watched, it can't really begrudge this movie too much. At the time, basically every slasher movie had teenagers, and of course they were naked. So,
But there's probably one 37-year-old in the audience like, oh, yeah.
Yeah, of course. Of course. But while this is all going on, Jerry is like stalking. is about to stalk her, and that's when Jim shows up, and Jim gets garroted right, and he does this. What the fuck? And it, of course, fails at that. Like, that's my thing. The whole time he's been at an 11, he gets in the door and he fucking fails, gets stabbed in the stomach.
Yeah.
It's like, come on, man.
All this setup. Yeah.
All this setup, you're fucking
eat shit.
You're accosting journalists. You got a gun. You're shooting at fire engines. You're busting into libraries, and you can't even take care of Jerry once you meet him. He gets the leg up on you. Man, come on, man. So, yeah, he gets stabbed and dies. Then, of course, Jerry starts stalking Stephanie. Stephanie is not in the shower and kind of hides from Jerry up in the attic. Jerry finds her, tries to stab her, doesn't happen. And then, the mom grabs the gun that Jim had and shoots Jerry a couple times in the butt, in the shoulder. And
shoots them right in the meat of the buns.
Oh yeah, like he shot them in the ass.
And poor Jerry, he's like, it's on the stairs, so like he's getting it from both ends. Giggity, It's just like I don't know which one to pick to murder because both of these goddamn bitches are driving me nuts.
Yeah. So while this is all going on, Stephanie like grabs the knife and stabs Jerry right in the heart. And Jerry, of course, falls back saying, I love you. And falls back. And he dies.
Well, he had to make sure that like the therapy was going to happen forever, by saying that. Yeah. You pretty much set that up for Stephanie is totally screwed up. Like, totally. She's going to be in her 50s, 60s, still talking about Jerry to a therapist. And you've ruined her now.
I loved you, and your mom only ever let me do the butt.
Dead. Yeah.
Yeah, but Jerry, quote unquote, dies. He doesn't really die because he shows up in the sequel. But
well, no, he's dead. But then the producers got around and went, "No, he ain't dead. The movie made a profit." And they went, "Uh-oh."
Yeah. Movie made $2.5 million. We have to make a sequel. But yeah. So the last shot of this thing, which I think is great, is Stephanie cuts down this treehouse that Jerry had built and put up to signify that Jerry's gone. Now, my wife pointed out, she's like, "What if there were birds in that treehouse, you dick?" Yeah, you
fuck
just
you,
fucking
birds. I've been through trauma.
You fucking destroyed it, and there might have been birds in there. You murdering bitch.
He's taking after Jerry after all.
Taking after Jerry. Yeah. And that's Stepfather, man. That's the movie there. It's good. It's really good. And it's honestly, it's an underappreciated 80s horror film. At least I think it is.
I thought the first time I saw this movie that it was going to be more like, John Waters' movie,
Serial Mom?
Serial Mom, yeah.
Yeah.
I thought, like, Jerry was going to just find excuses to go out and murder people left and right. But it's like, no, this movie's a slow burn.
It's a slow burn, but it I don't think it's necessarily a slow burn. I think it's just it's an untraditional horror film in the sense that it doesn't really feel like a horror film. It feels more like a mystery. It feels like something that I hate to say it, you might find on like Lifetime. Not bad. It's actually, I'd say, is way better than any Lifetime movie. But the type of movies like that where you are dealing with like strife within a family unit, not goofy ones, but just not like, my stepmom is hot and I'm banging my stepmom. Not like that. Because those movies do exist on Lifetime. But I just mean to the sense of the family unit and having these dynamics within the family unit really showed out, and throwing something in like someone being a serial killer, but I'd say probably a very realistic depiction of a serial killer. I don't think every serial killer is 100% 24/7 crazy, okay, and has that crazy vibe all the time. I honestly think the people that do those sorts of things are very much like Jerry, that they put on this mask of sanity and, you know, have normal jobs and maybe have families. And they just have this kind of proclivity that is, you know, caused by mental illness that causes them to kill. And that's why I love about this movie is it's more, I think, realistic towards that than other horror films.
Well, what did drive me nuts in this movie, though, was when he had the barbecue for all of his clients and stuff.
Yeah.
And, like, the one guy snaps the photo, and I thought to myself, oh, he's going to kill that guy because he's got a photo of him.
Nope.
You know, and he's like, no, take us another photo. It's like, dude, when you kill this family and you leave, there's going to be these photos of you. They're going to talk to this guy and be like, yeah, I got these photos of this guy here, you know. But, you know, I thought, like, oh, he's going to kill the guy and take the camera so the photos can never come out.
But think about it, John. Like, if you were to be like that, if you were to say, don't take a picture of me, that raises a lot of suspicions, right?
Well, I thought he was going to be like, oh, thanks for taking those photos. And then he's going to be like, hey, I'll walk you to your car, you know, and then just like stab him in the face and take his camera, you know?
Yeah. But I think at the same time, too, and this is what I think is reason why he didn't do that. So Jerry, I don't think, knew at the time he was going to kill his family. I think he kind of really, really wants all of these families to work out. I think he really legitimately doesn't want to have to kill every one of his families.
But then a 16-year-old kisses a boy.
Yes.
Everything's fucked up. Yeah.
Everything's fucked up because of that. You know, like he has to do it at that point. Yeah. Or a therapist pretends to be a customer.
She had smoochies. Smoochies, I tell you.
Yeah.
With a boy she liked. Ah.
Yeah. So I think the reason why is because he just, you know, he doesn't go into every one of these families saying, oh, I'm going to be there and I'm going to kill them. I think he just is looking for a right fit. It's like trying to find a nice pair of shoes, you know? He's just trying to find the perfect fit. But every one of these shoes is going to be, it's going to be hard to put on for the first couple weeks, okay? It's going to be tough to walk around in those shoes. They might give you corns and
bunions.
And you'll never find the perfect
murder. Yeah.
You'll never find the perfect fair. It doesn't exist. I'm sorry, Jerry. They don't exist. There's always going to be a rock in the shoe at some point.
That's deep, Brian.
That's very deep. I took Stepfather and I went to metaphors about shoes. I didn't plan that, by the way, folks. I go with it. I just go with the flow. But yeah, I honestly suggest if you have Shudder, check this movie out. It's a good time. It's definitely a movie that I think should get a lot more appreciation. I'm not talking too much about the sequels because they're kind of garbage. And definitely don't watch the remake because the remake is just terrible.
I've never seen a second of it. Yeah,
I saw it when it came out, and it's god awful. It's your typical 2000s remake, if that's what you're thinking of. So movies like the Amityville Horror that got the treatment too, and
the
Fog, all of those ones that got the treatment. It's the same thing. Just very stylized and slick looking, but devoid of what I would call a soul. And this movie definitely has a soul and some blood and some titties. But
blood and titties, everybody.
Blood and titties. It's 1987. That's what happens in these movies. Any final thoughts on Stepfather from you, John?
Yeah, I appreciate the ballsiness of putting this movie out when it did come out, because like I think of somebody going to the video rental store and picking up Friday the 13th Part 7 and Nightmare on Elm Street Part 5 and this one, and then seeing like all these people murdered, and they put on this like more methodical movie and like, what the fuck, So good for them for making a movie like this in the heart of the slasher genre, where they, I'm sure there were executives saying, no, the stepfather's got to kill 13 people or else we don't meet our quota. So good on them for sticking to their guns. Yeah. And I would say, check it out. Like there's a right amount of cheese there's
so much 80s cheese in this.
to enjoy as well. So I think, it's a good time.
But I gotta say, it's not crazy over the top 80s. Like this actually feels realistic to the time period. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
I mean, like, you and I were both 3 at the time, so I have very few memories of the 80s, but I just from looking at that time period, this feels a bit more realistic rather than the over stylized 80s that we tend to see in movies that came out around this time.
Well, I think also we're preconditioned to see things now that look back on the 80s and everything is like a stereotype of the 1980s.
Yeah.
Like this was just the reality of the time. Like, I'm sorry, there's not breakdancing in Ronald Reagan, but it's just, this was just a movie,
Yeah, I'm sorry, not everything looks like Pee-wee's Clubhouse. Like this. That's something when people think of the 80s. They think of everything looking like Pee-wee's Clubhouse and somehow a resurgent of the 1950s coming back in, because that was a thing too. But it's not. Like this feels a bit more grounded in reality, which is good. That's why I like this movie, as it is more grounded in reality. Awesome. Go check out Stepfather. It's on Shudder. So check it out. And Shudder, if you do want to pay us, you can. We will talk about all your movies.
Shudder. Yeah.
We'll talk about all your movies.
You don't need to pay us a lot. Just anything.
No,
anything.
We're tiny compared to everybody else. So you pay us. Yeah. Pay us like $10. We're good.
$100 a month, man. That's just nothing for you guys. Yeah.
Awesome. So, John, where can they find you at on the Twitter machine?
Pee-wee's Porn House.
That's the secret word.
That, I think, is like the 5th time we brought up Pee-wee jerking off on this podcast.
Hey, at 215 episodes, that's not bad.
Yeah. Hey, for all you math majors out there, what is 5 and 215 percentage-wise? But
I don't know. I'm a film person. I don't do math.
The Unreal J Wolves.
Awesome. You can find me at Brian Kleintaus from the Psycho Show page. Be sure to like us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Psycho Show. You can also find us on the Epicast Network, epicastnetwork.com. If you have a favorite movie or question you want to throw our way, or maybe you are a homicidal stepfather and want to swap stories about why the perfect family is like, a pair of shoes, you can contact us at cinemapsychoshow.com. And be sure to subscribe to us or follow us wherever you listen to audio, and we will see you next time.
You're trying to rape my daughter. You said the magic word.
That's awesome.
Epicast.